Welcome to my YouTube channel Wise Whispers, where silence speaks. At exactly 2 a.m., when the world was silent and even the wind seemed too tired to whisper, a sudden knock shattered the stillness of my home. My name is Warren, and at 64 years old I had grown used to quiet nights. Sleep didn't come easy anymore, but that night I had finally drifted off until that knock. It wasn't loud. It wasn't desperate, it was small, hesitant. Another knock followed. I pulled my blanket aside, my heart beating faster than it should for a man my age. Who could be at my door at this hour? As I opened the door, a freezing gust of wind rushed in, and there he was, my 6-year-old grandson Daniel, barefoot, shivering, tears running down his tiny face. "Grandpa," his voice trembled. "Mom kicked me out into the cold and I didn't know where to go. For a moment I couldn't breathe." "Daniel," I pulled him inside immediately, wrapping him in my arms. His body was ice cold. "What are you doing out there?" "Where's your jacket?" He shook his head, unable to speak through the sobs. I quickly grabbed a blanket and wrapped it around him, getting him to the couch. My hands trembled, not from the cold, but from anger and fear. "What happened?" I asked softly, kneeling beside him. He wiped his tears with his small hands. "Mom was yelling, I spilled juice, and she got really mad. She said I was bad and told me to go outside. I felt something break inside me. This wasn't discipline, this was cruelty." "You did nothing wrong," I said firmly, placing my hand on his head. "Nothing at all." Looked at me with wide, scared eyes. "Am I a bad kid, Grandpa?" That question, it hurt more than anything. I whispered. "You're the best kid I know." I made him some warm milk and sat beside him until his shaking stopped. Slowly his breathing calmed and he leaned against me, exhausted, but I couldn't rest. My mind was racing. My daughter-in-law had always been strict, but this crossed a line. And my son, where was he in all this? I looked at the clock. 2:37 a.m. Too late for politeness. I picked up my phone and called my son. It rang, and rang finally. He answered, his voice groggy. "Dad, what's wrong? What's wrong?" I struggled to keep my voice steady. "Your son is at my house, alone, in the cold, at 2 a.m. "Silence then, what do you mean?" He says his mother threw him out. Silence, but this one felt heavier. I didn't know," he said quietly. That was all it took for me to understand everything. "You didn't know," I repeated. "Or you didn't want to know?" "Dad, please." "No," I interrupted. "Listen to me carefully. This is not okay. He's 6 years old. I'll come get him in the morning," he said. I replied firmly. "He's staying here tonight, and we're talking about this tomorrow." I hung up before he could argue. When I turned back, Daniel had fallen asleep on the couch, still wrapped in the blanket, his small face finally peaceful. I sat beside him, watching him breathe. A child should never feel unwanted, never feel like a burden, and definitely never be left alone in the cold. That night I didn't sleep at all. The next morning my son arrived. He looked tired. Guilty, but guilt wasn't enough. We sat at the table while Daniel slept in the other room. "Tell me the truth," I said. "Is this the first time?" He hesitated. "That told me everything." "Dad, things have been stressful. She loses her temper sometimes, but she doesn't mean it." I leaned forward. "Intent doesn't matter when a child is standing barefoot in the cold at 2 a.m. Looked down, unable to meet my eyes. "You're his father," I continued. "Your job is to protect him, not make excuses." "I know," he whispered. "I know, then prove it." Was a long silence before he spoke again. "Fix this." I studied his face. For the first time in a long while I saw something real there, not denial, not avoidance, but determination. "I hope you do," I said, "because if this ever happens again I won't stay quiet." Later that day Daniel woke up. He said, rubbing his eyes. "Here," I smiled. He looked around, then back at me. "Can I stay with you?" That question hit me deep. I knelt beside him. "You can stay as long as you need." He hugged me tightly. And in that moment I made a promise, not just to him but to myself. I would always be there, no matter what. Weeks passed, things began to change. My son started spending more time with Daniel. He set boundaries. He spoke up, and slowly the house that once echoed with anger began to feel like a home again. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. And sometimes better is where healing begins. Moral of the story: a child's heart is fragile, and words or actions spoken in anger can leave lasting scars. True love means protection, patience, and responsibility. When we stand up for what is right, especially for those who cannot defend themselves, we don't just change one moment, we change a life.